Hello and welcome again to Galaxy Universal Network's Galaxy Prime with myself, Basetsana Phora. Now, COVID-19 has ravaged the whole world in its entirety, and millions of people, if not billions, rely on faith as well as on religion to get them through. And one entity that has been keeping at the forefront of helping people to spiritually stay upbeat in regards to, surviving the pandemic, and also someone who's always been so vocal in regards to corruption that is happening based and coming from the pandemic itself, is Dr. BJ LANGA, who is the President Governor of the Kingdom Parliament. He joins us now in studio to talk about a summit that they had. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. LANGA.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the church and global community had a emergency COVID summit. Can you just give us a brief as to the finalization of that summit, since, Galaxy Prime did have a bit of a broadcast on that?
No, we actually were perplexed of the outcome, especially the commitment that we have experienced, as on clergy and on men of the cloth, the body of Christ itself, and pastors, whom you see there's an emergence, whether it is meaning marching, or it could be a table. So we have realized that most oftentimes we come into talks in regards to matters of national interest, looking at voicing our frustrations and so forth. But the problem is who does it, and with which structure are we doing it? So it's always going to be fraternity or a particular church which maybe has many people or followers. Yeah. And then we came to a resolution that says we needed to actually formulate a body corporate and moreover legalize it. So what is it that you can do? So to legalize it, you need to actually now begin to raise a stone that can be written out there to say this is church parliament, where bills need to be passed through in terms of us standing for not only the church but humanity, global community. So we the response was so overwhelming, and when we set on that online, because it had to be an online based on what we're going through right now amid pandemic, we came to some decisions, and I could say we had to. Hence we said it's an emergency COVID summit that also had to also alarm the state of emergency, and the church as an institution. We can't march, we do it, and we can't throw again stones and leads only. That can be done, but again, we need to also now form a part of a legislative framework in order to, to also portray and assist, because politics and the now current government and administrators, they cannot be enough. They are partly leadership in terms of taking South Africa forward or Africa forward. So the church must form to be an institution that also its voice is heard, but in a way that it's not only about us maybe for church to open. We need that, we can't even discuss. Churches must open. Now we need to also now begin to affect the framework of legislature, so that the laws, the preaching, the prophecies, things that we speak must form part of the law in our country. So now how can that be done? It can be done through this body corporate, whom we call governors, and we have instituted a church parliament, a kingdom parliament, that would also be at levels with the Pan-African parliaments, because we want to now initiate a kind of a canonical, law making that would also now begin to assist the governments of the world, because now we have looked at for now, now where we are as a community, we are between Republican and Democrats, and what is democracy and so forth. We failed to become magnificent. So the church has been magnificent. So now the church is now moving from being magnificent to become becoming governmental. So we are imposing governance to say to the government, here we are, and then now our resolutions are, as follows, if I can just throw one or two, and we have resolute to stand, especially pertaining COVID-19. There are certain decisions that we already have made in order for the public to also receive, because our cry was for the government to open a plenary kind of an open a consultation, yes, so that they can consult not with particular people but with many bodies. So now it is for us now to stand and also present such and say these are our grievances and this is what is going to happen, especially in regard to which is called theories, which we believe is a fact. So there are some factuals that really usher us to do what we do in regard to now you wouldn't travel if you are not vaccinated, you wouldn't, and all those today as we call them theories, but they are factuals. You wouldn't enter the bank or have a bank account because you never did this. So now we feel like human rights are no longer applicable, and mankind is being stripped of naked their human rights pertaining what we're going through. So we are asking, and as we're standing there to say now, even beside even asking them to do this, we're saying we're going to stand with them equilibrium. So now Kingdom Parliament becomes a parallel structure that would not only be sitting there and say, government please, but because they are the current administrator, we would actually now begin to open a table for them to say, let's talk about this matter and see to it that there are people that we are also representing.
Would I be too optimistic to think that Kingdom Parliament would be able to bring through the country some sort of regulation when it comes to the churches that we have? Because truly speaking, the church fraternity hasn't been in such a good light of recent times because of what we see happening. And unfortunately, as much as there are apostles and pastors and preachers who stand out for, ways and actions where other humans can be degraded and somewhat, would we be seeing Kingdom Parliament being a regulatory body in some sort of a way for the church, and would that also help the people to be able to trust again?
You see, that's a very important question, because that's what the current administrators have been trying to do, and they have actually now exhausted their resources in also even doing it the wrong way, because you're doing it not with the church. So whenever you do a thing, you must do it with the church. If you want to build Africa, build it with Africa. So now you can't regulate what you don't know. So what you needed to do, because the church has been independent for as long as we can remember. So now when you come and you impose regulations, you need to also begin to now ask what are of the church in terms of the we are also constituted. We don't just operate. Hence people would understand. That's why most will even talk about it as if it's spiritual. There is, yes, a regulation in terms of the spirit that has to keep a person first who says, I'm a pastor, I'm a bishop. It keeps you first. But now tapping into how things are now in terms of where we are as humanity, it's very much important that we have a body that would stand and say, in this parliament we are able to actually now pass bills that pertains meaning the maintenance of the order of the house. And I would say, I wouldn't say the church must have a reputation, but I would say the church as an institution, it's equivalent to other institutions that are also going through challenges. So now it needs to be given an opportunity to prove itself that as much much as even politics has choked and went through stuff, and we still believe in politics to date. So nobody should relegate the church. That's the mistake that the government has done. That is the mistake that the public has done, because all eyes are on the church, and it could be a spiritual kind of an attack, but now we don't want to spiritualize the matter. So we want to come as professionals, because sometimes we, if I can put it to you now, Basetsana, I feel like the church has been discriminated, not in a way of attacks and so forth, but there's a discrimination of some sort that actually moves us from equality as much as we are not part of the equity. You see why? Because now when people look at the mistakes of the church and generalize, then the church, it comes short of what opportunities and also forming part of the community. It's like when you're from the church now, you've got a name here that you are from the church. That's part of the same discrimination that we are howling and we are crying and we are standing, we are combating. So now it has to come to an end where you find a government or political parties or individuals or organizations that are in government where they are discriminating the church pertaining, moreover, it's I would say the mediocres that we see in the house of God. We don't condone that. But now we are saying, because they are the same people who are the citizenry of this nation, so it needs to be given an opportunity. Here the church must come on board and present herself, because remember, the church has been, I'll agree, the church has been, we've been ignorant of certain other things because of our patriarch. So now we are coming, and there's a generation now emerging, a leadership that is coming forth. Before we were not active in politics, not even in business and other things. That
was actually my next point.
Oh, great stuff.
That is my next point. Some of the resolutions that you took at Summit is to involve in education, economics, as well as in total, media and communications, as well as land, food, and agriculture. Why was that so important?
That is very much important. If you want to build not only the church, but if you talk about Africa, if you want to build Africa, and the churches in Africa also, and the world, you need to understand and realize that he who controls your stomach controls you. Yeah, he controls you in totality, even your health. So we are coming forth. There are institutions that are given authority, whether to utilize their expertise and scientists in regard to food and which food to be eaten, and it goes out moreover as a kind of a charitable deed that actually now it takes and sways billions of rands from out of Africa. And it goes somewhere we don't even know what it finances. So we have let such institution to be here, and we buy its products and so forth. So we are coming out to say there's going to be a parliament that which will also stand for not only a particular people but for humanity. Because now for humanity, meaning that we are bound by the Bible, which is the constitution of the church, and it brings canonical laws that really meaning wouldn't allow us and afford us not to be modest, not to be honest, not to be actually now selfless. So the cause that we are in, it's a selfless cause that says we want to serve the people. So we need to. We said now we need it. You see now when you are calling them now, they're jotting them. I said there's one of the I would say orders that we have brought in, which is Kingdom. It's more of an organization. It's a Kingdom Health Organization. And the reason why we want to do that, in order to make an assurance that even as a church, there are things that we would allow, we would permit, and there are things that we wouldn't permit. So now we need to have a health structure that would actually begin to now professionals that will become meaning double watchmen, watchers in regard to the health of the people. When it comes to food, we're going back to pastoralization and going back to organic kind of meaning farming or agriculture and so forth, so that we deal away. Because remember, anybody who doesn't talk about this in Parliament, whether the Parliament we have now, meaning in terms of the GMOs or the GMCs, which are actually a cause even of some sort in terms of the sicknesses that we are encountering today, the genetical modified cropping, and we have permitted it. Reasons are unknown, and nobody's talking about it. The parliament is not talking about it. Our people are dying daily. So now we want to control what we eat, what our children eat, what the nation is eating. And we believe that if that could be the case, we would see a nation that thrives moreover in health, and now also being also active in economy, because that would also give also our local men and women an opportunity to be part of the economy, and from the local level and also to the macro level. And that's what we want to see happening, participating also into a global economies.
One thing that is not strange at all is the fact that South Africa, as well as Africa as a whole, is a church in itself. For instance, you take Parliament. Parliament cannot take place without starting with a prayer.
Exactly.
You look at each and every single thing that happens in the country, most of them cannot start without a prayer.
Exactly.
And that I also got from the points that you have made on how the church has been excluded in so many things. So I really think that this organization and this parliament, Kingdom Parliament, is going to be very beneficial to our country, and hopefully a lot of people will come out and join, and come out and be part of it.
Exactly.
I know that you've had your first meeting. When are we expecting to have another sitting?
We had our second meeting, on Sunday, and you see, as I said, there's an urgency, and there's moreover commitment that we have never seen. Hundreds and hundreds of men of the cloth, clergy coming on board, leaving their households and missions and house and so forth. And on the second one, we deliberated also on matters of importance. You have mentioned now the parliament cannot start without prayer. Those are important things. No, the president, let's take it back. The president cannot lead without taking an oath.
Yes.
And when they take an oath from then, you can change it now, but they say, so help me God.
Yes.
So that is one thing that every president must realize, which would absolutely become, I would say, history would judge us based on that. When you say, so help me God, you are standing there to say, I am ready to work for the people, to serve the people. Now, it's amazing in how the kind of attitude that we see, which is animalistic, and where people don't never even care about a human life. So prayer becomes that so integral even to us. Now on Sunday, on our second meeting, on our sitting, it's a sitting.
It's called a sitting.
It's a sitting with governors. When we are sitting with governors, we managed to come up with I would say, some of the important, jotted, I would say, plans. We call them corporate plans, because we want to do this collectively.
Yes.
And we said, and as we were speaking, because we're looking at how things are going to be in terms of theory, but factually we know it is only the church that understands what time it is.
And it is time.
No, politicians will not know what time it is. The church will know. Hence, when they talk of what time it is, they look mad. Yeah, it's like, what are you talking about? Because if we go back to times where we will respect a prophet, those times where the president would not do anything unless there's an advisor who will tell him spiritually of what is going on. And if you go back to those times, then we'll be going back to a time where we are restoring the prophetic in a kingdom with kings, because we are with kings. They are inclusive with us. They are here. They are in the parliament. And then where you say, now bring a prophet, let him tell us whether it's going to rain or not. So we're going back to those times of God. So we sat down, we said, now we see what's going on and what's happening. And you remember, I would say Africans might be a bit poor because of what we know, but they are not stupid.
No,
they are not foolish, and we're not going to let things go and in our time. So this generation will be asking us, what is it that you did and to stand against this atrocity and this kind of injustice that we are encountering today. So we are standing to say, at the time when they say banks are not going to facilitate such, we are sharing it to the whole nation. We're starting small, but it's going to be that bank that will serve the people. We have been initiating that for some time, and the government have not opened up, and some banks are coming from Australia, and they happen in our land. And while we are the ones who registered very long a time, and now we are saying that a bank will begin here, a kingdom bank, a bank that will facilitate the people. Now, I need the nation to realize, even Africa, when we say the church, we are not actually talking in exclusion.
Yes.
We are talking inclusively, because the church, as the mother of politics, the church has given birth to this politics.
True.
The church gave birth to what we are seeing and to the pride that we are experiencing. You see, we are experiencing mafiaism today. The church gave birth to such, and there are some people who decided to move and enter certain shores. That's why when the church stands and say no to something, we're gonna just stand out and say no. If we want to say no to communism, we are saying no to communism.
Yeah.
If you say no to socialism, we say no to socialism. So it will depend on whether the nation of South Africa knows who they are. You see, this is a country of Nkosi Sikeleli Africa. So we called for God to help us. We cannot let go of that.
Absolutely. There is also a resolution here that says we reject same-sex marriages, abortions, land nationalization by governments. Would you be able to delve into that with us a bit more?
Yeah, you see, when we came into resolution in regard to the parliament, we are different entities, and we listen one to another, and we listen carefully on what is that organization saying as they have come on board. Realize the work of the church. The work of the church, as much as we preach inclusivity, the work of the church is to remain original. And when you go back to the origins of origins, you need to understand, that's a teledorth. You need to come to a place of understanding that there is already a framework of what God has given. We don't, I always say to people, I don't fight what you believe that you are. But that doesn't give you a right for you to shut me up on what I know that I am. So we have the know-how, and everybody knew how. So, but because of evolution, and moreover I would say revolution, because now they are doing it even by law, that if I come and say I don't understand, it's like you are not. In our families we have such. Yes. But it's not. It's like when you say we have crime, then we say no. We've been having crime for so long, so crime must be permitted. So either way, where there are our sons and daughters, or our sisters and brothers who are experiencing a new dimension in their lives. The church, the church's responsibility is to lay a platform to remain with that originality, to make sure that even if a time comes where a brother would say, no, Mia, you know what, I've heard it all. I feel like I want to. Then they will find there is a space. Unlike when there is a kind of a propaganda that really wants to deal away with the nuclear family. Remember one thing, anything that we permissiate, it deals with the nuclear family, to a point that if I say to you that we are pro-life, we are not saying we are pro-life, we don't, no, we understand one might be pregnant because of rape, we understand all those things. The church doesn't have time to argue on those things. But when you say pro-life, it's because if this man who's sitting on this chair could have been taken out because he's a zygote, and then this man, a fetus, I wouldn't be talking right here. We would have not been having Mandela. So now we are saying, give them an opportunity, find an alternative. Do not, because we are pushing an agenda that is not African. It's not an African agenda, especially in terms of the abortion, because it is financed from outside. And we even know the shenanigans behind that says, no, it brings a certain kind of income and so forth. But now we need to go back to a point and say, what is it that we can do? We are human beings. We were given an opportunity. What is it that we are not, or we are doing now that is different from what we see happening in regards to depopulation? It's almost the same thing. Because now it takes us to a place where if we can voice things out and we are looking at budget, I don't want it. No, we understand.
Yeah.
We were never wanted. You might not have been wanted. We went through that as Africans. Struggle. Our families didn't have it. No budget in our homes. But those parents, they made a decision. Were they not educated? Were they not having a revolution themselves? They had, but they were also family orientated. So we are saying, as much as there could be an eruption of some sort, can we also afford even a certain platform to deal with this matter in terms of what? Of maintenance, because there's no way you can wipe men on earth. There's no way you're going to wipe women on earth. That's period, that's factual. We can see that you can't wipe it. But again, there are certain things which are so real that are happening. And how do you come up on that? So we are saying, let he or she who does, do. But do not impose on the whole global community to understand. Let them also, because remember, understanding is an adaptation. Even if you can throw it to me now, I might not understand, we might get into a dialogue. So we are saying there, it is only saying we need to have another voice, a new narrative that says, can we also protect a nuclear family? Can we also protect that blood of that child? And be pro-life. And
I think that dialogue part is very true, because right now I have a question. However, our time is so limited. So I guess it will be a very quick yes or no. I guess every time we speak, it's always going to be a yes or no answer. Well, Lebionte Papiki is asking that should I want to be part of the Parliament kingdom, but I am a homosexual person, will you reject me?
You see, that's where I'm coming at. When you impose, you say you are a homosexual, you are entering hormones now. I have my brother and my sister. Hence you say we have them in our homes. Rejection will never be there. We love them. But we're saying, realize one thing, this is bigger than even the person who's going through something now. You can't stand there and try to dialogue with them not knowing what they're going through. But we are saying, let there be another platform that will also begin to now say, we are standing to say this. And let's say he comes and say, I need a membership, I want to come into the parliament. Yes, what we'll do is that he is welcome. He's welcome. But there's one thing that we have put there. It's like when you come in somebody's house and you say, in this house, we don't drink. You understand? You can't say, no, I drink. And so it's going to be the house order that is given to all of us to say, do you understand this and why? And even if you want to engage, you engage at those levels to say, not even discriminatively, to say this is a formation or a platform that want to voice things out. Because remember, even, yes, they don't talk about this because people are afraid to talk about it.
Well, that is Dr. B.J. LANGA. I'm even losing my wording because it is such an important conversation to have. He is calling for land economics as well as bank inclusion in terms of the church. Thank you so much for joining us right here on Galaxy Prime. We will see you tomorrow with myself as well as my partner in news, Gugu Thusi. But from me, it's Dutless Petindaba. It's good night.